It's the Billy Graham Boxing Podcast, The Preacher's Sermons.
Right, so welcome to Billy's Conservatory, this time for episode 2 of the Billy Graham Boxing Podcast. I'm John Evans and this is Billy Graham. How are you, Billy?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good. I think the first thing we've got to do, we've got to thank the fans for getting behind this. You know, people seem to enjoy it. We've had loads of questions and good comments, and it seems to be what people want to hear.
Well, the thing is that makes me feel good. That's why I'm doing it, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'm doing it because, like I say, the fans treated me great when I was a trainer. So, yeah, I like to talk to them.
And you can get your questions in, preacherspod@gmail.com. We're on Twitter. Lots of you are getting in touch on Twitter, @preacherspod. And write, review and subscribe to a podcast. I believe I've got to say that. I don't know how these things work, but I think that's how we get more popular. Finally, Billy, it's February since the last shows in Britain. Top Rank have been putting on shows in America for a few weeks. We finally get some British title action this week. Brad Foster's fighting, but it's going to be taking place in TV studios with no fans there. How do you think that's going to affect things?
Wow, I really don't know. I mean, I had a fight I fought a guy in my gym once in some championships years ago when I was a kid, and that was a strange thing. There was no fans and that, just like my gym mates was there and stuff like that. And
yeah.
Fought a guy called Russ Shaw from Oldham, and he was a good amateur and that. What I can remember that is we hardly threw a punch. We hardly threw a punch at each other. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know how that's going to work. And also, what I'm thinking about this fight behind closed doors, no crowd, is reminds me of back in the day when at the World Sporting Club in London and that, and some sporting clubs all over the country, you wasn't allowed to shout and cheer. I think it's because the sadistic bastards wanted to hear the punches landed and that, so. There's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be pretty raw. It's
going to be a completely new experience, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
These fights coming all the time, the microphone's going to amplify everything. Later on in these series of Behind Closed Doors, we're going to get Dillian White against Alexander Povetkin.
That's going to be brutal with no crowd. That is going to sound. Well, to be honest with you, it might. I'm curious to find out people's reaction to that because they'll actually be able to hear what's going on.
Yeah. The noises of you only have to be leaning over the ropes for sparring to hear the noises, but a meaningful fight like that between two elite heavyweights, that's going to be raw. And Can you imagine we're going to get to hear the corner work? You know, how would you have? Can you imagine Sky Sports in your day, Billy, being able to hear every single word you say to your fighters?
Well, when my fights used to get repeated the day after, it was just all in my corner. It was just bleep, 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 bleep. So, that's the reality of what it's like. You're in a drastic situation, so you're not speaking the Queen's English.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the fighters react as well. You know, these days during fight week, one day they're doing an open workout, which I think most of the fighters secretly hate. I don't know if you used to.
I used to do a thing on the body belt Rick Hatton in the Arndale Centre and that. I used to hate it.
Yeah, but most of the fighters hate that because we're trying to make the weight and stuff.
But you've got to do it. The things what you have to do to publicise the fights.
Yeah.
You've got to publicise the fight. You've got to help the promoters. So they're just things what you've got to do. But no, none of us liked it.
But all these things break up fight week. You know, you've got the public workout, you've got the press conference, you've got God knows how many interviews.
Yeah.
And they all take the mind off the fight. Whereas this time, it's just going to be reduced down to you're fighting this guy on Saturday night in that room. The dressing rooms are going to be quiet. They're not going to have a big team of people supporting them. No big ring walk. It's just the bare bones of a fight, and it'll be interesting to see how some guys adapt to that.
It will be. I mean, I don't know any more than anybody about this because it's new to me. I really didn't like the idea whatsoever. I just thought it can't work, but now I'm getting really curious to see how it will happen. And to be honest with you, I do like to hear the sounds and the noises because I can judge the fight better. Yeah. Because don't forget, I'm used to having my head inside the canvas anyway. Yeah. So I can hear what's going on. So I might enjoy it, but I don't know.
You know, every now and then I've got to shoehorn a question in out of blue because it reminds me of a story. You just mentioned you're boxing in the amateur championships against your mate in the gym. You've got to tell the people about your first ever amateur fight, Billy, but what you and your mate Piggy got up to the night before your first ever amateur fight.
Oh, about the tattoos. Yeah, I was, back in them days, like in the early 70s, like, you know, people with tattoos was quite frowned upon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was quite self-conscious. It was going to be my first amateur fight. So quite self-conscious about the tattoos. Obviously not now. So Piggy, my mate Billy Lee, I used to live with their family actually. His dad was a painter and decorator, and we decided that he was going to paint my arms, paint over the tattoos. So he's mixing all the paints, trying to get to the skin colour and all that, like, you know what I mean. And so then he painted my arms in the kitchen. I was fighting in Collier's the day after, like, you know, one of Brian Hughes' guys. And I painted my arms. Well, he painted my arms, and but forgot to fucking shave them. Do you know what I mean? And I had all these hairs all matted in my hand. I said, I can't do that.
And what type of paint did he use?
Gloss. Yeah, it was fucking gloss. So I said, you better get it off. You better get it off. So obviously his dad was a paint decorator, so he had turpentine and that. You know what I mean? So he's rubbing my hands and all that. My arms was fucking red raw. They were still red raw the night of the fight. So yeah.
So there you go. Every now and then I have to shoehorn one of those in because otherwise we'd just pass by. But gloss paint, of course, what other solution would you ever come up with? There is fights being made or being talked about, and Canelo, the biggest time of sport, I know you love Canelo.
Yeah.
Rumours about who he's going to fight. Billy Joe Saunders has said he's not going to be ready for September. He's not willing to take a pay cut. So he's ruled himself out, and it seems like Callum Smith's the front runner for that fight.
It's Callum Smith to fight Canelo?
Yeah.
I would love to see Callum Smith fight Canelo. I'd love to see Billy Joe Saunders fight Canelo. I think Billy Joe Saunders would give Canelo fits. I think Canelo's a great fighter. He's going to go down as an all-time great Hall of Famer, you know what I mean? Obviously. But I'd like to see him fight Billy Joe Saunders because I think Billy Joe Saunders would give him fits.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a big opportunity to turn down for Billy, that, isn't it? Especially when he's got like 8 weeks' notice.
Well, it depends what shape he's in now. I mean, back in the day, like the Champs Camp guys, Carl, Ensley, and the rest of the guys, and that, we just used to work out all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's only certain fighters like Ricky Hatton, maybe Steve Foster, in between fights that did go on balloon in weight, but most of the time the fighters we just worked like having a day job.
Yeah.
Every day. We just trained every day. So when if I got noticed for the title fight, I'd only need 6 weeks. That's all I'd need.
Yeah.
But I can't speak for Billy Joe. You don't take fights when you're not ready. I'd prefer to pull my fighters out of fight. I don't care what the money is, whatever. You've got to be right, you've got to prepare yourself. So if Billy Joe has turned the fight down,
It's got to be a good reason.
there's got to be a good reason. I think so. He's obviously, well, we all know what Billy Joe's like, and so I think he's probably put a lot of weight on. And you know, so if he says he can't get ready in 8 weeks' time, I believe him, because I don't think Billy Joe Saunders is scared of anybody.
No, I don't either. We'll talk about, there's no point in talking about fights that are just in the air at a minute. So if Callum Smith and Canelo does get announced, I know you'll like to talk about that. So we'll talk about that.
I love Callum Smith, and I love Canelo.
Big, dangerous guy. So we'll talk about that more if and when it happens. Last bit of news before we move on to Billy's memories. Roberto Duran, Billy, went into hospital with coronavirus, but it was never going to beat him, was it, the old Hamza Stone?
Coronavirus is never going to beat Roberto Duran.
Yeah.
I don't think anything can beat Roberto Duran. He's as tough as nails, and he's one of my favourite all-time fighters. And he is actually Ricky Hatton's favourite all-time fighter.
Yeah, he is. I've bumped into each other a few times. Probably been out on the town a few times as well together, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll be talking a little bit more about Ricky in part 2. Last week it was the animals. This week it's Ricky Hatton, and that's in part 2. Part 2 of these podcasts, we're going to go back over Billy's memories, some funny old stories. Last week we had the animals. When we asked for questions, lots of people got in touch with Ricky Hatton, and me and Billy spoke, and we decided that rather than just jump in and out with questions about Ricky, it's such a big story, we're going to break this down into little sections of Ricky's career, and we'll drop these in throughout the podcasts. So I want to start with the first time you actually laid eyes on him, Billy. You know, this wasn't the cliches old story of some unknown kid knocking on the gym door and him becoming and being obviously a world-class talent, was it? You had phone calls about Ricky coming and seeing you before you actually met him.
Yeah, by the time I met Ricky Hatton, like I say, we'd won every title you could get, every title what was available. There was no English title then, but we'd got world, European, Commonwealth, British, Lonsdale belt, outright winners, everything. When Ricky come to my gym, I kept getting phone calls of various people. So I don't know who they was. I think maybe his dad or Paul Dunn, his ex-trainer, his amateur trainer. I can't remember who they was, to be honest with you. But I keep getting these phone calls. Can Ricky Hatton come down to your gym and have a workout? So I'd go, yeah, of course he can. You know, who the fuck's Ricky Hatton? Do you know what I mean? And I was getting different reports because everybody's going to my gym. People who was big fans of the amateur boxing and that. So some of the people would tell me he's a good, strong kid. He was a junior then. He was only a junior before he went to the World Championships.
Yeah, it's like 16 years old, this isn't
it? Yeah. I know it was before he went to the World Juniors anyway. And I get different reports. Some would say he's just a strong kid with a good left hook to the body because he's knocking everybody out. Do you know what I mean? So some people was telling me that he's just a strong kid, and once he gets to the seniors, it'll be a different ball game. You know what I mean? Then other people was telling me that he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because he was knocking everybody out, but I'd never seen him. This went on for weeks. You know what I mean? So anyway, then I finally got a phone call, and they said, "Could he come down tomorrow?" I went, "Yeah." I said, "You know, of course." So
what was you expecting then, based on the stories you'd heard?
I didn't know. I knew a lot about that. There was kids who was in the juniors, kids who mature very young. You know, some of them were shaving at fucking 15 and that. You know what I mean? So I was expecting that, to be honest with you, a strong kid and just who's mature for his age and that. That's probably what I was expecting.
So what did you think when little Ricky with the pudding bowl haircut he had at the time? Or did he have the spiky haircut at the time?
No, he had that. He looked like this fucker out of Clopper Castle, or looked like something like the first Blackadder or something like that. You know what I mean? First impressions, well, he looked like a little boy. Do you know what I mean? But he had a pushed in nose and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought he takes a bit of stick. You know what I mean? And he looked very strong and that. I knew he was too heavy anyway. He was fighting at welterweight then. Do you know what I mean? So I sneaks a glimpse. He was on our own before the other guys had arrived. So I sneaks a glimpse of him in the changing rooms to look at him naked to see what his body looked like. You know what I mean? And I remember he had a really powerful back and really powerful footballer's legs. You know, his thighs was really muscular and powerful. So he looked really strong. Do you know what I mean? So, and because he had like a boxer's nose, I thought he's just going to be a strong kid. You know what I mean? But how wrong I was.
How wrong you were. So you had that hour with him before the other lads got in the gym.
I took him on the pads.
Took him on the pads. Was it instant? Did you click together? Did you like his personality? Did you realise this kid's got something? Was it as quick as a flash?
He was kind of quite shy at first to me, with me. You know what I mean? Meeting me. I took him on the pads. I realised he was very strong. But obviously, I had the good left hookers. You know what I mean? I had the people I had in the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I was very impressed with him when I took him on the pads. But I think maybe it was the second time he come down. I was really impressed. No, it was the first day. I remember going home and saying to Iona, this kid has just walked into the gym today. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the first day.
Literally that quick. How long did it take you to?
I think maybe I let him spar the first day. I can't remember now. I knew immediately, and I told him straight, just as you are the best 16-year-old kid I have ever seen.
Yeah. Now, you said the situation he was walking into there. This wasn't just an unknown gym with unknown fighters and Miss Star appeared. You had world champion, people who'd done it all, and it was a type of gym where Ricky had to earn his respect. You know, the figures who were in there. Just talk through some of the names he was mixing with.
The thing why I could judge him so well was because I had some of the best light welterweights in the country.
Yeah.
I had Andy Holligan, who just won the British title back. Great fighter, good guy and all. I had Paul Burke, who was the Commonwealth light welterweight champion at the time, former British lightweight champion. I had great prospect with Mark Haslam, at light welter. Chris Barnett at light welter.
Good fighter.
Great talent. Nicky Boyd, ferocious right hand puncher at light welter. So I had some of the best light welterweights in the country, or the best light welterweights. So
you had a measuring stick straight away.
So I could judge him. And he'd spar with these guys and that, and he should not have been able to do what he could do with these guys. I'm not saying he would have beat all them at that time. Do you know what I mean? But over the first few rounds, he'd stand any one of them on the head, and it wasn't his strength what impressed me. I had bigger punches in the gym. Andy Holligan was a bigger puncher than Ricky. Do you know what I mean? No, it was his skill what impressed me.
How long did it take you to realise that you could? Because you can have someone in the gym who's got all the talent in the world, but if you don't enjoy working with them, it's not going to click, is it? How long did it take you to realise that, as well as having all the physical skills, he was also someone you were going to get along with well and have the time of your life, as it turned out?
Oh well, once because Ricky Hatton isn't shy.
Yeah.
So once he become not shy with me, because once he knew that I was just a rough ass fucker from Salford. Do you know what I mean? We just hit it off right away. He was. There's a lot of fighters I enjoyed working with. Do you know what I mean? Ricky was so much fun to work with. He was the best student I've ever had. Yeah. Working with Ricky, I used to look forward. I used to look forward to going to work anyway. You know what I mean? I like being in the ring with fighters on the pads. That's what I like. That's what I enjoy. And talking. That's how you learn to fight, by talking and being in the ring with them. You know what I mean? And he was just made for me. I told him when I first met him, listen, you could go to any gym in the world and anybody would want you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I said, you could go to America, the Americans will love you. You could pick any trainer you wanted in the world and they would want to train you. Because I only wanted him to be with me if it's me we picked. Do you know what I mean? But I knew right from the off, and I told him straight right from the off, you can be world champion. Do you know what I mean?
He shared this attitude as well, didn't he? You know, you've told the story. You used to sit on the steps for hours after training, talking to each other about what you could do. It wasn't just you boosting him up to encourage him. Ricky had the same determination and ambition as you.
He had loads of self-belief. But it's not, honestly, it's not made up. I did say, you'll be in Las Vegas, you'll be in Madison Square Garden, everyone's going to go, you'll be the world champion. Yeah. I told him that right from the first week. Do you know what I mean? Because he probably come all that week. I can't remember. Do you know what I mean? But I knew how good he was going to be. He knew how good he was going to be as well.
Now, the style that he eventually adopted, you know, the famous stepping around, picking shots to the body, pit of the stomach, around to the liver, switching the angles all the time and marauding in off a jab. And was that a style that you'd wanted one of your fighters to develop for a while? Like you had Holligan, who was a good fighter, a good puncher.
I wish I'd have had Andy Holligan when he was younger.
You had Mark Haslam, who was an aggressive, muscular 10-stone guy. Was this a style you'd wanted to perfect for a while, or was it something that Ricky just came with and you were able to work with?
No, it was something what I've been working on for a while. When I was a young kid, when I was a boxing fan, most of my favourite fighters, what I liked was the guys who could box.
Yeah.
You know, the classical boxers. You know what I mean? I like boxer punchers a lot. I mean, a little bunk to Sugar Rays and all that lot, obviously. You know what I mean? I'm a huge fan of Muhammad Ali. I used to like, my preference them days, before when I was younger, was I used to like classical boxers who could tame the strong guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then eventually stop him, but they could tame him. You know what I mean? And I used to like to fight pressure fighters myself. I used to like people to come to me. But over the years, my tastes kind of changed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I preferred, what my favourite fighters are is aggressive counter punchers. I think it's the safest way to fight. It looks dangerous, but it's the safest way to fight. Jose Naples was the master at it. I was also a huge fan of Mike Tyson. Me and Ricky was both fans of Mike Tyson and that. We both liked a lot of the same fighters. But by that time, it wasn't really a choice. I think the kind of aggressive fighters, I think they picked me. Do you know what I mean? I think that they knew I liked that style. And so I think they basically picked me.
So Ricky boxes amateur for a year, another year, 18 months or so, goes into the seniors and eventually turns pro. You say you spent almost every day of your life together, but in a very early career, Billy, you know, he disappears off to Madison Square Garden for his second ever fight, and you're not there on the plane with him.
I was proper pissed off about that, but I had a big fight. What was it?
Yeah.
Now?
These are the days when Frank Warren was putting on shows with Nassim Ahmed in America, and Nas had the famous fight with Kevin Kelly at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Ricky got a spot on the undercard.
But
you
who
were
did that?
over in Zambia, weren't you?
Was it
Paul Burke.
Is that when it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course I was involved. Yeah, I was in. Yeah, Paul. He had a Commonwealth title fight. Wow, that's
a story in itself,
that's
isn't
a
it?
story itself. Yeah, the guy died after the fight. We was underdogs, me and Paul. Paul was coming to the end as well, so there's no way I could not be with. There's no way I could not be with Paul.
Yeah.
And it did turn out tragically in the end. So maybe I shouldn't have gone. But no, I was fuming about him going to Madison Square Garden, his second pro fight without me.
How did he get around this though?
The little fucker conned me. He knew how to charm me. Do you know what I mean? He come up to me and went, listen, Bill, I'll do whatever you say. If you don't want me to go to Madison Square Garden, I won't argue with you. I won't moan, I won't fucking say any problem, you know, I won't give you any shit and all that shit. He went, but I'd really like to go. So, what could you do? But,
What was that like? Because you jetted back from Zambia. I believe you had a fight on the same night Ricky was fighting in Madison Square Garden. You were at York Hall.
You got to understand. I just been in this tragic situation in Zambia. The guy's on a life support machine. The doctors have told me that he's certainly going to die, and I couldn't even go home. I had to fly straight from Zambia to London for Enzi Bingham having fighting.
Nicky Thurbin,
was it? Was that the first fight or the second fight? It was the first fight, wasn't it?
First, yeah, Thurbin was undefeated, yeah.
So, you know, my head was all over the place, you know what I mean? And on the same night, Ricky Hatton's fighting this guy, so I get a phone call about the opponent. I phoned him up about the opponent, and he's fighting a guy who was 7 pound heavier than him, 7 pound heavier than him, I think, at the time. And so I was going mad. I was going mad then, you know what I mean? So, God, that was hectic.
How did you find out? I assume, would Ricky have been shown on the pay-per-view that night, or did you get a phone call off someone like Ernie Fossey or Ricky himself? Can you remember how you found out about the result?
No, I don't. I can't remember. I just remember I was sat with Chris Sanagar because he must have had a fighter on the bill. I sat with Chris Sanagar and I phoned Frank's network, like, you know, who's the opponent and all that lot. And then when I found out he was 7 pound heavier or 5 pound heavier or something like that, I was fuming.
Yeah.
So I've got one guy dying in Zambia. I've got the Nicky Thurbin fight with Enzi Bingham, and I've got to worry about Ricky Hatton fighting in Madison Square Garden. So, Jesus, that was a rough night.
But he went on a bit of a tear, Ricky, early, didn't he? You know, stoppages, had a run of first round knockouts. The left up to the body was coming, but he boxed some good kids early on, didn't he? As well, you know, he wasn't mollycoddled. Guys with journeyman's record, but solid guys, former ABA champions.
I think he boxed 2 ABA champions in his first amateur fight. You know what used to make me laugh about Ricky Hatton? We'd get an opponent. You know what I mean? It's obviously he fought some journeymen as well. Do you know what I mean? So we'd get the opponent and he'd look at his record. He'd be really pissed off. He'd go, he's lost them, he's lost this, he's lost that. He was really pissed off. He wanted to fight everybody. You know, normally when you're a kid, you turn pro and you're young, especially someone as young as him. You're glad when you see the record and you know that they've lost a load of fights.
Well,
he didn't.
You knew you had a duel as well. You knew how good he was.
Yeah.
Did you used to get a little bit frustrated at having to fight these guys? Did you want to let him off the leash, or did you want him to make the most of these early fights?
I wanted to make the most of it. I should say to him, listen, you're going to be fighting all kinds of people. Stop fucking moaning. You know, but if he'd seen the guy with it and he had a losing record, he'd be like, you know, deflated. Yeah. We was always brewing up in the gym. We was always making tea, because he likes tea like me. We're always brewing up in the gym talking and all that, you know, and if the guy had a losing record and that, he'd be proper pissed off. And I went, you won't be complaining in a few years to come. Yeah. You know what I mean? You'll know what it's really like in years to come. So I was glad, but I knew I could move him quickly. Yeah. I knew I could move him quickly.
But it sounds, Billy, like you were quite happy to take your time. The best days of your life, you said, haven't you? You know, the big nights came and
I knew
the nights with Zoo came, but these were your favourite times, weren't they?
Yeah, the coming up times was my favourite time. I used to look forward to going to work. We'd be in the ring all the time together, me and Ricky, all the time, working on stuff. He was dead eager to learn. He never got frustrated. He never got pissed off if he couldn't do something right away. Do you know what I mean? He had patience, and I've got patience. I'm not a patient person, but when boxing is concerned, I have got patience. I find that strange myself, because I'm not a patient person. But it was so good working with him. I used to look forward to going to work and think about him. He was constantly on my mind, what we could do, what try this, try that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was unbelievable.
Went on this tear.
And I'm used to working with good fighters, don't forget. I'm used to working with good fighters.
But something about this just triggered that excitement.
Oh, yeah, it was like a dream come true for me.
18 months, you said before, the only title you'd not won at that point as a trainer, area title. Yeah. English title didn't exist, you'd never had an area champion then. No. All of a sudden, Ricky gets presented with the chance to win it, doesn't he? His first title, your final title, you know, complete the full set, and he gets a fight with a guy called Tommy Peacock, and that's what really marked him as one to watch from people watching on TV, and really set him on the trail then, wasn't it? Right.
Well, I'll tell you, that come at the perfect time. I wanted him to get first 7 rounder anyway. I knew Tommy Peacock anyway. Yeah. Because he'd beaten a guy of mine called Mark Haslam. He was a great prospect. So I knew how good Tommy Peacock was, and Tommy Peacock was a good amateur. He was unbeaten as well. And to be honest with you, like was never an arrogant person and was always polite with everybody, but he didn't like Tommy Peacock, because every time he bumps into Tommy Peacock would say, "Who did you fight? Who are you fighting?" And every time he'd say who he was fighting, Tommy Peacock could disrespect him and say, "Oh, he's a fucking mug," and all that, like, you know what I mean? So Ricky used to say to me, "I fucking hate that Tommy Peacock," you know what I mean?
Good boxer though, Tommy.
Tommy was a very good boxer, and he listen, and if you watch the fight, he come there to win.
Yeah, he was undefeated at the time.
And Tommy Peacock come there to win, you know what I mean? And he really had a go. But Ricky was mad for fighting Tommy Peacock. Yeah. So it was the perfect fight at the perfect time. Ricky actually had a great apprenticeship, to be honest with you. Yeah. He really did have a great apprenticeship.
I vividly remember what he was at Oldham Sports Centre, 5-minute drive from where you live now, Billy. And that was a night it got rolling, wasn't it? You know, people started taking notice of this exciting guy who had a style. There wasn't any British fighters who fought like Ricky at that time.
Well, look,
Sky Sports on a Saturday night.
All you got to do is watch that finish. It was a work of art.
You can remember it picture perfect now, can you?
Picture perfect. And the thing is, it's like everything we'd been working on in the gym.
Go on, describe it.
The way he shifted round. We was working on him, shifting around, and I always want the middle.
Pit of the stomach.
The pit of the stomach. Well, they call it the solar plexus, but it's actually his stomach.
Yeah, there's this thought that people have in their mind as Ricky the body puncher is leaning over to his left and digging that left hook into the liver, but the one that did the damage was sweeping around and putting the left to a pit of the stomach, wasn't it?
The other stuff is a disguise to get that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the prize.
I used to try and work. Yeah, that's the prize. I used to try and work on that with all my fighters and that. You know what I mean? But he was the one who could. He was made for it. You know what I mean? Ricky Hatton. When Ricky Hatton was at his peak, he was the best pound for pound body puncher in the world. Yeah. The variety. Do you know what I mean? And plus the punches was getting harder as he matured and stuff. You know, but that night, that's when he come of age. When he fought Tommy Peacock, because Tommy Peacock was a good fighter, trust me. And he gave it his all as well, Tommy Peacock. Do you know what I mean? And he absolutely took him apart, but he took him apart in a beautiful way. And I think that's when the boxing fans and the reporters and, you know, the TV and that, I think that's when they knew that.
They knew what you knew.
They knew what I knew. This kid is special.
They were all in on the
But he had a long way to go then, and he improved massively over the years. But that was a great night. Yeah.
Over the coming months, we'll keep splitting Ricky's career up into bits and pieces like that. We'll take you in the gyms. We'll take you in the dressing rooms. We'll take you in the ring. We'll let you know what went on, and but we'll keep breaking it up. We don't just want to run through it in one go, do we? It's too big a story to just run off. So we'll keep breaking Ricky's career up into little sections like that. Okay, we said in week 1 that we wanted your questions to come in for this final part, and Billy will answer anything that you sent in. You had second thoughts about that, didn't you, Billy?
As long as it's boxing related.
Yeah.
As long as it's boxing related, I'll answer any question.
Boxing related, that's
right.
That's for qualifier, isn't it? And we had a lot. We had a lot of emails and a lot of people on Twitter at PreachersPod getting in touch. We've picked 5 or 6 of them out. See if yours is included. So first one up is from a guy called I'm Spartacus, Billy, who's on one of the boxing websites. And he says, whenever this guy saw an interview with you back in the day, he always got a sense that you were proud of the Manchester boxing scene and he viewed it in a different light to the rest of the country. Could he say he felt the Manchester scene was different, and did he feel that overall they had better trainers and fighters there?
Well, obviously better fighters, that's for sure. I think it's mostly me and Brian Hughes who was training the fighters, and it's no secret. Manchester boxing turned into and obviously Champs Camp. Forgot about Champs Camp. You know, Phil Martin started it. Brian Hughes was always a successful trainer. There was Phil Martin, and then there was me. Yeah. So I think I played a pretty big part in the Manchester boxing scene, but the Manchester boxing scene just come on fire. I told you the main ones who attracted the people was Michael Gomez, Anthony Farnell, and Ricky Hatton. But there was a lot of great fighters in Manchester at that time.
Yeah, run through some of their names.
And Robin Reid was training in Manchester. He wasn't actually from Manchester, but he was training in Manchester. Pat Barrett, you know what I mean? There was.
It's endless, isn't it? Carl Thompson, Ainsley Bingham.
Yeah,
Frank Grant a little bit before.
Yeah, all that stuff. And look, Manchester went from being not a boxing town. There's always decent fights from Manchester, always, you know what I mean? But it went from not being a boxing town to being a massive boxing town. And it was talked about as being like the boxing capital. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it actually was. It was always London and that, you know what I mean? But no, Manchester definitely took over. But So obviously the training's played a part, but I really can't explain it, to be honest with you. But yeah, I was really proud to be a part of that, and I'm proud to come from Manchester. Well, I come from Salford actually, but it's great in Manchester, you know. Yeah. And so
there was that painting, wasn't there? Remember a painting we got you? The guy, artist, he's called Jay Connolly, does some really good paintings.
I remember the painting.
He did the painting, didn't he, of all the famous faces from the Manchester boxing scene.
Yeah.
That just shows how thriving it was at one point.
It was Manchester. It used to be London where there was the place to be if you wanted to be a fighter. But it definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, became, if you wanted to be a fighter, to come to Manchester.
Yeah. Right, next question. Darren Rees, who helps us out with the podcast editing, so we thought we'd best throw his question in. He said, what's the biggest thing that trainers and fighters miss out on in the gym these days? What do you think we should focus on a lot more? Footwork, reactions, feints, mental game. What do you think's the overlooked quality these days?
Well, I think they've always been an overlooked quality. They're the essential ingredients what make a great, well-balanced fighter. Balance, distance, timing, anticipation. I think you're born with anticipation. But all them things are extremely important. But I think what the wrong thing is what everybody's concentrating too much on how much weight they can lose, what weight they can get down to.
Yeah.
They're playing a really dangerous game because most of them don't know what they're fucking talking about anyway. You can make any weight. You can make any weight what you like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a way to make any weight what you like. But you've got to be able to perform at that weight. I think the most damaging thing in boxing today, the most dangerous thing in boxing today, is people are fighting below their natural weights. So, yeah, they've got to concentrate on all them things to improve you as a fighter. But I think what they want to take more notice of is stop fucking killing yourself to make weight. It's not a weight-making challenge to see you can get down to the slightest weight you can be. Yeah. It's fucking dangerous. And it's going to cause more deaths. Yeah,
we'll definitely go into that in more depth. I think that's your pet topic, isn't it, Billy?
Yeah, it is.
For weights. But I'll tell you what, just before we move on, people will say, well, how can he talk? Look at what Ricky used to get up to and boil himself down. But Ricky wasn't getting himself down to an unnaturally low weight, was he? He probably used to go up unnaturally high.
Ricky was losing body fat.
Yeah.
Body fat, what his body didn't want. Natural weight, what his body didn't want. He wasn't taking himself down to an unnatural weight. Yeah. So that's totally different. And plus, I had the best nutritionist in the business who really knew his stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always knew there's always a bridge too far. You can make any weight what you want, but your body's got an optimum fighting weight. And Ricky fought at his fighting weight.
He did. We did say we wouldn't go into Ricky Hatton questions, but this one touches on Ricky, but it's something you did for years and years. It only seems to be the clips of you doing it with Ricky that get the attention. But a question from Peter Morrison. He said he wonders if you'd tell us what it's really like to put on the body belt and those mitts and roll with the punches of Ricky Hatton when he was in monastery mode. What toll did it take on your body? What were some of the injuries you suffered? And do you think there's anything you could have done to preserve yourself in order to be as fit as you could at that stage?
Look,
but you used to do this with all your fighters, from cruiserweights right down to lightweights.
Heavyweights as well.
Heavyweights.
Look, yeah, it did cause me massive damages, and I'm certainly paying for it today. But what you got to understand is, I mean, Frank Warren said to me, Billy, why do you do it? I actually enjoyed it. I loved it. And I said to Frank, it's because it's the closest thing I can get to fighting. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I actually enjoyed it. I used to love it. I used to love being in the ring. It's where I could gauge the stamina. I knew I could gauge everything because I was involved and I was doing it. I was moving around and that, you know what I mean, and making them work to exhaustion and that. I used to actually love it.
You could tell what they weighed to within half a pound. You told me once.
I could tell what they was weighing. Each individual fighter, I could tell what they weighed. I know how to bring them to a peak because they was doing it with me. so I could feel it. So I needed that as much as they needed that. That's one of the things what made me good, right? Do you know what I mean? Because I used to do that. Towards the end, the last few years, I didn't like it then. It was too much then because the injuries was too bad.
List off some of the things. I know your hands are so bad now, aren't they? Just list off some of the...
I've got multiple... I had my hands x-rayed a couple of years ago. I've got multiple fractures in my hands, both hands, but they've all healed wrongly. Both bones are touching together and that, you know. I've obviously got arthritis in my hands. But it's not just your hands. I mean, the reason why that body belt got so thick, because it wasn't like that in the first place, was because I had 2 hernias, you know. But, you know, spending all that time on a boxing ring, obviously your knees, your hips, you know.
Yeah, but it was all worth it at the time. It was all part... None of your lads would... Do you think your lads wouldn't have reached the levels you did if you hadn't done that?
No, definitely. I don't think they would have. I think that's what gave me the edge against other coaches, because I knew what my guy had in the tank, because I'd actually felt it with them.
Yeah.
So I knew what they had in the tank. And towards the end, they used to have the Novocaine injections to just kill the pain, but it didn't stop doing the damage. But, you know, let's face it, you can work on a building site.
Yeah.
And end up with arthritis and injuries, and that just by working out on a building site. You know what I mean? And I got a lot more money than working on a building site.
Something that pisses you off a bit as well is the clips we show are you at the end, aren't they?
Yeah, I can't
in the
stand
early
it.
days, it was almost like a fight, wasn't it? You used to be throwing shots back and...
I wish they'd stop showing that old stuff when I was a fucking old man. I wish they'd show some of the stuff what Sky have obviously got when I was a young man. Well, not even young. My 40s or something.
Yeah.
And I wish they'd start showing that instead of showing this shit when I'm old and past it.
Right, we've got time for a couple more. We've got a question from Al Oster, who's a good up-and-coming trainer in Yorkshire. What advice would you give to a professional trainer who's in the early days of his coaching career?
Well, what I would do, I'd tell him to learn about nutrition and weight making. I'd say you've got to learn how to do your own cuts. You know, okay, there's nothing wrong with getting a cut man in, because a cut man, it takes a lot of pressure off you, especially in big title fights, stuff like that. But if you're going to be a trainer, and getting nutritionists and stuff like that. But if you're going to be a trainer, you want to be the real thing. You've got to learn about all of these aspects of the sport. You know, you've got to be able to do everything. You know what I mean? Not just bringing in specialists and this all the time. You've got to be the real deal. I did my own cuts for years. Do you know what I mean? I knew about nutrition. I knew about modern training methods. But okay, I brought a specialist in like Kerry Case because he knew more about nutrition than me. He was an expert, you know what I mean? But some of these fighters, some of these trainers today, they don't know anything about, you know, they just leave all that stuff to other people when the trainer is the man in charge, not the nutritionist, not the strength coach, not the so-called conditioning coach. The trainer should be the conditioner, right? It's you should be the conditioner. And you, if you're gonna call yourself a trainer, you're supposed to be able to do cuts, you know. So
everything. And the last one today. Actually, we'll scrap that one. Let's go on to a different one, and it's from another up-and-coming trainer in Wrexham, and he says, must be something that's frustrating him. It's from Jay Yates. He says, what do you think about this current trend of prospects having 2 weeks in Ibiza and a month off after they've beaten a journeyman in a 4-rounder?
Well, it's kind of ridiculous, you know. When you're a young up-and-coming fighter, you need to, unless you've been in wars, unless you've been in real wars, you should be kept busy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You should keep yourself in shape all the time. So, you know, going and partying after having a 4 round or that, it's just nonsense, you know what I mean?
You're starting from scratch again, aren't you, when you come back?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, you've got to live the life. You've got to live the life because it makes it an awful lot easier for yourself. So going out and celebrating after winning a 4-rounder and fucking off to Ibiza and getting pissed up all the time, it's just a load of bollocks. And the fact of the matter is, if you've got a fighter who's like that at that stage of the game, he's not going to make it. So you're wasting your time.
There we go. Brilliant. That's for questions, Billy. Episode 2 done and dusted. Don't forget, send in questions for the next episode. There might be some prizes on offer as well from VIP, where the video version of this podcast's being broadcast. You're sending your questions to preacherspod@gmail.com. Get on Twitter @preacherspod. Leave your reviews, rate the podcast, and get subscribing to it, and we'll keep doing them, won't we, Billy?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as the fans want me to do them, I'll do it.
Good. Brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed it. That's episode 2 done and dusted.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.